Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany is our very special guest today, Thursday, November 13th, 2025. I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching DrydenWire Live, presented by Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin. AFP Wisconsin works to reignite the American dream and break down barriers that hold us back from our full potential. Visit afpwisconsin.com to learn more and to join AFP to fight for more freedom for all Wisconsinites. Quick special thank you to some of our recent guests on DrydenWire Live, including Will Martin, Emily Gall, Brian Reisinger, Michael Alfonso, Doc Severson, Angie Sapek, Josh Shulman, Angela Stroud, Judge Maria Lazar. We had a whole bunch lately. You can watch the full recording of those conversations on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/DrydenWire. With that, we welcome today's guest, Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative, who joins us every second Thursday of the month, Congressman Tom Tiffany. Tom, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Fantastic.
Yeah. So a late night vote last night in Washington, D.C. to reopen the government and calling you from a remote location. So it is good to join you.
It's nice to have you back again. Thank you for always coming on for a half an hour chat with us. So how late did that vote go last night? I started watching some of it on C-SPAN in 4:30 Central Time. I was watching it, and there was like this, I don't know if they call it a debate, this back and forth thing before the vote. And I mean, I hung in there as long as I could, man. I made it like 45 minutes. Like, I just can't watch this anymore. It's brutal. How late did this all go last night?
Yeah, well, you have more stamina than most people. So it ended up being what, like 9 or 10 o'clock? That's probably Eastern time, 9,
Sure.
10 o'clock,
Okay.
that we cast the final vote. And the government is reopened as a result of the president signed the bill immediately.
So does everybody have to go there? Or can you vote by proxy?
Cannot vote by proxy. Nope.
Oh, well, it's
That was
just
something Nancy Pelosi did, and we do not allow that since she's no longer speaker. You got to show up in person to vote. So I flew out yesterday morning out of Milwaukee and made it in good time to be able to cast my votes.
well, I'm just saying that's
Hey, by the
435
way,
people.
Hey,
Uh,
by the way,
yeah,
before we go any further,
sure.
this week was Tuesday was Veterans Day, 11/11/11. And thank you to all the veterans out there for your service, and especially all veterans in the last 250 years of this great
That's right.
country.
That's right.
We hope you had a good Veterans Day. Thank you so much for the sacrifice you gave for your country. For your
Yeah, I'm
country.
I'm, I'm glad they do it.
Yeah.
It's veterans and law enforcement and people like run into the fires. What are you doing? Like, that's not for people like me. Too much of a wuss. So no, absolutely. Thank you. So the government reopening. So what's next? Does this mean you just a light switch gets flipped and everything goes back to normal like it was the day before it shut down, or is it a process?
Oh, it's a bit of a process, but we're back in session next week. Now that we've got the government reopened, we're going to be back Monday, and we'll be there all next week, trying to get the agenda done that we've been planning for. And I know I've got a couple bills that I was hoping might be able to move in October. So there's a bit of a backup that I'm sure a lot of members, including myself, have at this point, that they'll be chomping at the bit here up until Christmas to get a bunch of their legislation passed, and that includes me.
Can you share what those are?
I can give you one of them. That's a
Sure.
Wolf bill.
Oh,
I had received a commitment from the majority leader, Scalise, this summer that we would get a vote here this fall. I was expecting that it would be in October. That obviously did not happen, but I hope before Christmas now that we can get a vote on the Wolf delisting here as soon as possible.
do you feel like there's some legs to this, or is it? Listen, we're going to do our part, but it's probably not going to go anywhere, or you have high hopes?
I'm hoping that it will get done. I mean, we have about as good a chance as we've ever had to be able to get it passed. Now, that's no guarantees. And because, I mean, for some reason, almost every Democrat, we only get a couple of them that vote for it. Almost every Democrat votes against it. And I just really don't understand why, because it's time for them to be delisted. We had 25 wildlife biologists a decade ago here in the upper Great Lakes states, And many of them that do not agree with me politically on many other issues. But on this issue, these wildlife biologists say the wolf is recovered, management should be returned to the states. And hopefully we get it through the House, and then we'll leave it up to Senator Thune to do his magic in the Senate.
Do you think it's just a political thing at this point, where it's, well, if Republicans are mostly for this, then we must be against this?
There's a bit of that that's going on, but it's also there's a tremendous amount of money that is being raised by the animal rights groups. It is amazing. I talked to a reporter from a station here in Wisconsin. It's probably 5, 10 years ago, and she said when they air wolf stories on their local television station, it is among the most watched and commented on stories. And if you look at the fundraising appeals that come out from the animal rights groups, this is a money-making enterprise for them. They can't give it up. They're addicted to wolf cash.
That's bizarre.
It's strange. I mean, almost everybody knows that this delisting should happen and there should be management by the states. And but no, it's all about wolf cash.
Is it, or is it like is there a messaging problem too? Because you just said everybody knows this. Well, everybody being people in northern Wisconsin, in the Northwoods, or in the upper parts of our area, but people who aren't from this area. In a weird way, I can kind of see, if you're not familiar with all of this, that you'd be like, well, no, I just don't like that idea. Is it a messaging problem? Like we're just having a difficult time explaining and letting them know how important this would actually be.
You bring up a very good point, and my statement was inaccurate that everybody knows this. Everybody that lives in northern Wisconsin knows that this should happen. Now, there's some people that oppose it. I get it.
Certainly.
That live in northern Wisconsin. But I mean, I talk to people who are not of the same political philosophy of me, that are like, yeah, the wolf needs to be delisted if they live in rural Wisconsin. Because, by the way, this is not a northern Wisconsin problem anymore. This is across the state. If you live in rural areas, go down to Wisconsin Rapids, Jackson County, Black River Falls, places like that. People have been seeing it. So it is a bit of an awareness problem. I agree with that people who live in the cities, whatever, the same people that live in, for example, Milwaukee, and that may say, yeah, crime's a problem in Milwaukee, because they're very familiar with it. Yeah. They may say, what's your big deal with wolves? We're not familiar with that. So, it may be a bit of a messaging problem. We have been trying to push it out. It's also why we renamed the bill this session the Pet and Livestock Protection Act, because we wanted to make it very clear, rather than the Trust the Science Act like the previous session, we called it the Pet and Livestock Protection Act, because that is what we are trying to do, is protect people's pets and livestock.
Going back to the shutdown, obviously this was largely, if not solely, largely based on the Obamacare subsidies, essentially the enhanced premium tax credits. This lasted for 43 days, etc. A lot of other things, negative impacts happened, as we all know, so we don't need to rehash all those things. Everybody understands that stuff, the SNAP things, the air traffic controllers, etc. Was it good that we did this just from it brings awareness to the Obamacare subsidies and the importance and or the need of it? I mean, do Democrats kind of get what they want on this? Like, hey, this was actually good. Yeah, it kind of sucked for a whole bunch of people for quite a while there, but I mean, is there a win here from both sides? One side, does America win? How do you process all of this?
No, it was not a win to shut down government like that. I mean, that's why I voted to keep it open twice, back in September and now in November. It was not a win for the American people. And I mean, let's be clear that Obamacare was just a pretext to shut it down by a minority of Democrats. I mean, we remember there were a few Democrats in the Senate that wanted to vote for this. There were 55 or 56 votes in the Senate. A majority wanted to do this. Chuck Schumer would not allow the vote to go forward through this arcane rule known as cloture. I mean, there were a majority of votes there. Why did he not allow the majority to rule in that case? It was a minority that was holding it up. But the pretext was Obamacare. But I mean, it's pretty evident a big part of this was the Virginia and New Jersey elections. They wanted to make sure in juice elections, to make sure that they won in Virginia and New Jersey, because they had lost 4 years before in Virginia, and they nearly lost the governorship in New Jersey 4 years previous. So they wanted to make sure that those came home. I mean, it's quite evident that was a big part of their strategy. And so they had to have a pretext, and they said it is going to be Obamacare that we are going to raise as an issue. I think this has been healthy for from the standpoint of greater awareness. So if there's a big problem with Obamacare that they're seeking to fix, doesn't that highlight that Obamacare is a real problem? I mean, doesn't
Well,
that highlight that there's a real problem there? Because remember, this was enhanced subsidies that were put in place during COVID that they're trying to extend. Why would COVID is no longer with us. Why would you continue enhanced subsidies due to COVID when COVID is no longer the reason for shutting down our government? So I just think it has raised awareness, and I think a couple things are really critical in regards to it that people should look up, regardless of your political affiliation. Why are people making up to $500,000 eligible for these subsidies? Why would we
what?
do that? But people making up to $500,000 in some cases are eligible for these COVID era subsidies for Obamacare. The second thing is there's tens of billions of dollars that are going out to the insurance companies. I mean, it is staggering how much money is going to the insurance companies. And I ask Democrats like Senator Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin, who has railed on insurance companies regularly when out on the campaign trail running for reelection, why would you pump in all that money to those insurance companies? And that is why the president is now saying, let's take those subsidies that are going to the insurance companies and give them to the American people, the people who actually we should be working for.
Well, one thing for sure, we had Emily Gall, a co-host on a show that we do called That's Debatable, and at the end we always do this unpopular opinions. And one of my unpopular opinions was I think we should at least rename Affordable Care Act. I just don't think it's like actually affordable. And I wasn't banging on it. I was just saying that it's not affordable. And if we need even more of these subsidies to make it affordable, like that's a bad thing. So what is next for Obamacare? Is there?
Sure.
I thought I've seen things. There's so many different things that I see all the time, and I don't know which one is true. And there's different timelines. So what is next? Is there a vote going to be done on this? What do we do now? What's on the agenda?
Yeah, so I mean, step back a second and look back over it. It's one of the things that Congress is the poorest at, is where there's legislation that's passed, and it turns out it doesn't work as it was advertised to. Shouldn't you take that policy that's been created and shouldn't you reverse it or at least significantly reform it? And that's the case with Obamacare. Remember the promise 15 years ago. You get to keep your doctor. You will get to keep your doctor. I hear from people all the time now that that are saying, I have a hard time getting an appointment now. And it's taking much longer than it did like 10 or 15 years ago. So that's one. The second thing is it was going to cost less. Your health insurance and your health care is going to cost less. Clearly, that has not happened. It's one of the number one concerns, and rightfully so, for the average person out there is healthcare is so darned expensive. And so that has failed us. So if it's not working, then let's fix it. And that's what we're going to talk about here over the next couple months is getting a fix to Obamacare. And I think it starts with three principles, Ben: choice, competition, and transparency. What other thing do we have in our lives besides healthcare that we don't know how much we're going to pay for it? I mean, name something that you don't have an idea of how much you're going to pay for, whether you're going into the grocery store, maybe an auto parts store, whatever the case may be. You're going to be able to find out how quite quickly, if you don't know already, how much that good or service is going to cost. Healthcare is not that. And that's one of the number one things we need to do is get that transparency so that people know how much they're going to pay. And then the second thing is we've got to give them more choices. mean, that's part of the problem at this point is you have all these mandates that are on Obamacare. You have to cover this, this, and this. For example, for many policies, you have to have pregnancy care. Why would a man want pregnancy care? Not necessary. Think about young people that don't need, they are not at their peak healthcare consuming years, whereas people who are older are. Why couldn't they get a more bare bones policy that covers the basics for them rather than having to have something that's very extensive in its coverage? Let's give people more choices, and that will help bring down the cost of healthcare. Those are going to be some of the things that we're going to debate here over the next month and a half.
I have more things I want to get to. The Epstein Files, or Epstein Files Transparency Act, the DPI scorecards of Wisconsin. I don't know if you saw that. I want kind of your takeaways, but I just want to stay on this for another minute here. So, are you saying? It sounds like you're saying that the enhanced Obamacare subsidies, that's not the answer. Which I think a lot of people would agree with you. Not everybody. Perfectly fine. Everyone has the right to their opinion on that. But it sounds like it needs more reform. Now, I don't know how long it took Obamacare to become Obamacare, but you're saying over the next couple of months, that's what we're going to be discussing, essentially making that, better or reforming it a little bit. That doesn't happen overnight, though. That is not like a 2 month we'll be talking about it, but how long is it going to take for that to actually come to fruition, assuming there is an agreement and assuming it passes everything to get to a president? Aren't we talking about many months, if not like up to a year, if not more?
Yeah, so it's going to take time. I talked to one of my colleagues yesterday while in D.C. who is on the Energy and Commerce Committee, which largely has jurisdiction on this issue. They are already engaged on it. They're already talking about solutions. And that really is the big solution. And that is the challenge that is before us, is people rightfully say, okay, then if it's not working, then what is the fix? And that's what we need to provide, is the fix.
Okay. Well, I can't wait till next month because you come on every month to continue to get updates on this because this is a huge topic. Listen, we have a couple more things we want to get to. I'll be back in 15 seconds after a word from Spooner Health.
Compassion is at the center of everything we do. It's rooted in who we are and why we're here. It unites us as providers, neighbors, and as a community. Learn more at spoonerhealth.com.
So when I was watching on C-SPAN last night, the debate thing, before that, somebody got sworn in. I can't remember from where. And then I think I can't remember that person's name, but this was a 218th vote for Epstein something. Didn't really understand a lot of it. So I was reading it this morning, and I saw that there is something, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which looks like it's going to be voted on next week. What is the update on that? What is going on with that? A lot of people it's on the news last night, this morning, Epstein Files releasing it, etc. What can you tell us about the Epstein Files Transparency Act?
Yes. So we have something that's called a discharge petition. If you can get a majority of the House members to sign on to a petition that they want the bill to come to the floor, that's a way in which the bill can come to the floor. And that's the 218th signature with Representative Grijalva, a new person coming in. She's the daughter of the deceased Representative Grijalva from down in the Tucson area. So there's 218, and I'm expecting that there's going to be a vote on this. I don't know exactly when, but I look forward to seeing it. I'm going to study the bill, and if it makes sense, that it's providing transparency to the American people while also protecting the victims. Because that's the one thing that's being left out of this by those, because I get messages on this occasionally, and people, when are you going to vote to release the Epstein files? You need to do it immediately. It needs to be done in a proper manner because there are innocent people that are affected by this that should not be dragged into the mud on it. We need to make sure we protect those people who are innocent. But otherwise, I'm all for openness and transparency.
And you've said that on the show because it gets brought up, usually questions in the comments, and you say it every single time that you're going to. But now this still has to be, since it is an actual, an act, it's not just a House. Let's assume for a moment next week they vote on this. It still has to go through the process, right? It still has to go to the Senate. It still has to go to the president. So this could still take a little while. We don't know if it's going to get through one before it gets through the other. But let me ask you a bigger picture, or is this usually how this goes? Not using this case specifically, but let's say the FBI has files and they want to release it. Can they just release it? Or the DOJ? Does it always have to go to Congress in cases like this in order
No,
for these things to get released?
no, it does not have to be that way. And uh, the reason for it is that um, the Department of Justice and the FBI are steadily providing more information, but this is being used for political purposes because what the advocates for this are saying, you're going to see Donald Trump's name on here, and
Yeah.
it's the classic gotcha. It's the classic gotcha President Trump play that is going on, and but I'm for the transparency. Whoever's name is on there, I don't care who it is. Let's put it out there, but let's make sure that we protect the innocent.
Did you see the DPI scorecards from were released? The Wisconsin scorecards for our schools. Hey, it looks great. I think we're doing phenomenally well. Right? I think they rate it on a scale like 0 to 5 or one. No, I think it's 1 to 5. I didn't see one school that even got a 1. I mean, the percentages look a little bit weird, but boy, if you look at the scorecards, we're doing amazing in education. So, hey, when you become the governor, you're not going to have to fix this at all. Looks like we're doing great.
Yeah, we got a big fix that we need to do to our education.
What?
I mean, you can paper over the failure that's going on here in Wisconsin. I mean, all you need to know is that we've fallen behind Mississippi, and that tells you everything. If you want to reinforce it, 1 and 3 fourth graders in Wisconsin read at grade level at this point. And I emphasize to people that means this is no longer just a Milwaukee problem. This is a problem across the state, and it needs to be fixed. And it's been papered over since COVID by the Department of Public Instruction. They've went and changed the standards to hide the decline, and we need to stop that. We need to be honest with the people of the state of Wisconsin that this is an epic failure. Now, the question is, how do you fix it? And I believe those fixes are not that hard. You set higher standards, you have honest report cards. Any more money that goes into education, it should go to students and their families. We should pay good teachers more money. We should demand discipline in the classroom so those teachers can teach, because that's a big problem these days. I've heard from so many teachers who have said the classroom is so unruly. We need to hold our administrators accountable for both performance, but also for discipline in the classroom. And we as political leaders, regardless of your political stripe, as well as parents, we need to make sure that kids are coming to school ready to be educated. It is going to take all of us, parents, political leaders, teachers, administrators, everyone. We need to stop this, because this is not the Wisconsin that I know. Me and my 7 brothers and sisters, we went to public school down in Elmwood. We got a good education. My daughters went to public school up at the Lakeland School District in Minocqua, and they got a really good education. There's a lot of good teachers up there. And this decline was really exacerbated by COVID, but it's been coming for a while. And it's because we've turned our schools into social engineering factories rather than educating kids. And I would just say very simply, Ben, parents expect their kids to be educated, not indoctrinated. We need to get back to the education part of it.
Well, whoever comes up with the DPI scorecard and how it makes everyone look really, really good, I just hope if this gig doesn't work out for them, they should go to the health department or something, and they should be the ones in charge of what defines obesity. Because then I'm technically not obese if we can just move the percentage for obesity is at this level. So that'd be fantastic. I like that a lot. I'm meeting or exceeding expectations.
So you're saying they should start weight loss centers as their next career.
Oh, you had mentioned Milwaukee. Did I see the Milwaukee Milwaukee Police Association endorsed you for governor?
Yes, that's correct. Yesterday, the Milwaukee Police Association, their 1,200 members, they endorsed me. And
is that a big deal? I don't know much about Milwaukee or that area or that, so it sounds like it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal because, I mean, they're at the front lines of keeping public safety in the biggest city here in Wisconsin. And the work they do is so important. They recognize that I'm someone who will have their backs, that will do everything possible to make our streets safe here in Wisconsin.
We have a question here because we're almost against our time, so I'm just going to go back through, see if there's any questions from Jennifer. Do you plan on doing anything about property taxes on primary homes for seniors and disabled?
Yeah, so first of all, we're going to end the 400-year property tax veto that Governor Evers put in place. Remember, he did that veto that was upheld by the state Supreme Court that automatically raises your property taxes for the next 400 years. Talk about death and taxes. Yeah. And we're going to end that. That'll reduce the tax burden for some people. And then we're going to freeze property taxes so that they're not going up. People should be able to it's one of the things that is going to make home ownership more affordable. Now, there's a lot more that needs to be done besides this, but this is a good start to get control of property taxes.
There was something else that happened, and I wasn't even aware of it until I saw some news stories about it. A part of this reopening, or part of the CR, I think it was a part of that. I see a lot of things about a federal THC ban was associated with this. What was that, and is this good, or are you in support of, apparently it's just called a federal THC ban? I don't know if that's actually the terminology for it.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on this, so let's start there. But my understanding is that as a result of the law being passed a number of years ago, led by, I think, Senator Mitch McConnell, that it left an opening for like your THC-infused drinks and things like that to be able to be sold. And you see them in stores all over Wisconsin and around America. And Senator McConnell said that that's not how I intended this to work, and so he closed that loophole with this. And they went and inserted it in the Senate version after we had voted for it in the House, and we were asked by the president to let's deal with this separately if we're going to, because it's so important to open the government. So there were no amendments to this when it came back to the House.
All right. Well, we're up against our time here. What do you have coming up this week and this weekend?
We're going to have a busy weekend. I'm trying to think all the places that I'm actually. So like on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to be doing some campaigning around the state, and really looking forward to doing that.
How is that going around the state? I mean, 7th Congressional is large enough as it is, but now it's the entire state. My goodness,
big state.
Yeah, no, gonna find out. Right. How's that going? Are there different things that you hear? Because you've always been in the 7th Congressional. I mean, you were in the Assembly, then you were in a Senate, so a larger area, but that was more like northeastern, but still Northwoods, Wisconsin. And now, of course, in Congress, pretty much all the Northwoods. But now when you're down and you're campaigning in the Madisons and the Milwaukees and et cetera, are you hearing different questions when you go down there, when you're having a sit down and meet and greets that are different from the ones that you're used to up here in the Northwoods?
Yeah, so the one thing that did prepare me for this well is the 7th Congressional covers 40% of the landmass of Wisconsin, so nearly half the state. So I'm used to traveling, and now I'm doing a lot of traveling as a result of that. But yes, you are correct. There are different issues. I think you see the technology issues are greater. One of the big issues that's going to be before us is the AI data centers. AI and data centers. That's going to be a big issue that's going to be before us because it's really percolating around the state. That's a good example, Ben, of something that, especially in the lower part of the state, there's much more discussion about that. So yeah, there are different issues that are before us. And like yesterday, getting the endorsement from the Milwaukee Police Association. Crime is a big issue down there in Milwaukee, and I would say Milwaukee, Madison, and some other communities. And so it is a bigger issue than it is for us. So it is a different range of issues.
Awesome. Anything else you want to make sure we talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
No. I think it was a good recap, and good to get the government reopened here. And we're going to go back to work and try to find solutions here for the American people. Yeah,
so according to C-SPAN, or the person that was talking last night during the debate, apparently you Republicans have been on an 8-week paid vacation. So that was reiterated like 100 times. I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah, of course they're going to portray it that way. I mean, I've been working with colleagues to try to make sure the bills that I think are important, that we're going to be able to get them done. I've been sharing ideas in regards to Obamacare and how we get to a better place with more affordable health care, and stop giving this billions of dollars to the health insurance companies. So, oh yeah, we've been working on issues that are going to be very important here going forward.
Yeah, I think the next 2 months are going to be huge. Absolutely huge. A lot of it just kind of catch up on. So, by the way, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you. And by the way, one of the good things that came out of this bill, and I didn't mention it, I do want to mention it, is usually when we extend a continuing resolution, we usually extend it to right before Christmas. And what happens then? There's a big spending blowout because everybody wants to get home for Christmas, and it's, backs against the wall. Everybody wants to be home for Christmas. And so we end up with this massive additional spending that's going on. I give our leadership and Mike Johnson a lot of credit. He stood firm in saying, no, we are not going to do this showdown, shutdown politics just before Christmas, because it always costs the American people another bunch of billions of dollars. And that's what's led, it's part of the reason that it's led to $37 trillion in debt, is this showdown stuff happens almost every year. Kudos to Mike Johnson in standing up and saying that we are not going to do it this way.
Well, hopefully he's watching.
Yeah.
So you can hear that. Awesome.
Well, the clip is going directly to him if he's not watching.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom.
He asks me all the time. He says, "What's Ben Dryden saying? What's Ben Dryden saying?" Because he's the barometer for America.
Special thank you to Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany for taking the time to come on and entertain us, but for a chat today. I'll see all of you next Tuesday when I'll be joined by Timothy Fry of Ignite Dispensary to discuss, wait for it, all things THC. So until then, for DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you for watching and have a blessed day.